Mr. Rush's music tutorial clips. Have you seen the clip of him?
Hello, welcome. I've just come in from a bit of a snowball fight outside, which is fun. But what we've got to do now is talk about GarageBand and playing with loops, because I'm going to set you another challenge, which is not only to play with loops, because it can be a bit daunting when you've got so many loops to choose from, and it's a bit tricky sometimes matching the loops so that they sound good together. So what I'm going to give you is a bit of a lesson on what genre means in musical terms, and to pick a genre within your loops and to play around with matching the loops that are within the same genre, because that might end up being a little bit easier for you in making your loops work together. So we're in GarageBand as always, and I'm going to start a new project. Okay, so I'm going to go to the top left, back to the screen, start a new project, and wherever you are in here, you just open up a new instrument. So for example, it's good to go to audio recorder and click on instrument, because when you've done that, you will automatically see just above there a brick button that appears. If that doesn't appear, then you may need to add an audio recorder part to your project, okay, because sometimes that doesn't appear unless you've recorded something. But once that brick appears, when you press on there, you'll have an empty screen, but this is the arranger window, and this is where you can drop in all your loops. So the loop button, remember, up there somewhere is a loop, the loop symbol, and when you press on there, it pulls down a menu full of lots and lots of different Apple loops. And what we're going to do is, as you can see at the top, we've got Apple loops, files and music, and then underneath there you've got instruments, and then next to that it says genres, house. And that's because the last thing I looked at was a genre called house music. I'm just going to press the little X next to it, and now you'll see that it says just genres. So it says instruments, genres and descriptors. So what you can do is, because there are quite a lot of loops, you can search for particular instruments. If you think to yourself, I want a piano part, type in piano and see what comes up. A synth part, which is like a piano but with electronic keyboards, so it's synthesized sounds, but you play it a bit like a piano, or bass or drums or any instrument. But what we're looking at is something called genres, all right, because when you go for a type of genre, you'll get different instruments. You'll get a different drum beat and a different bass part and a different synth part, but they will all be of the same genre. So what is a genre in music? Well, it's a type or a style of music. So you might know that there's rock music. You might know that there's jazz music. You might have heard of dance music. But even within dance music, there are lots of subgenres like house music and techno and drum and bass. So within music, we have categories, or we call them genres or styles of music. And when you press the genre button, it comes up with a menu full of different genres. Now, you might not even have ever heard of some of those genres, but that's okay. And maybe you should pick something that you haven't heard of and see what it sounds like. So you've got bass house. I don't really know what that is. I mean, I know what house music is. You've got chill wave. I mean, I can guess what that is, but it's not necessarily something I've heard before. Chinese traditional, country, dubstep, electro house, electronic, funk, future bass, hip hop, R&B, house, jazz, orchestra, reggaeton, pop. We've got rock, blues, sound effects. I wouldn't go for that because they're just going to be sound effects. Vintage breaks and world, which counts for other parts of the world. That would be quite interesting, but it might be a bit tricky to match them together, but I would love to see someone try. When you think, well, I'm going to go for, let's have a little look. Let's think. I'm going to try chill wave because I'm not really too sure what that is. I'm imagining it's quite chilled. All right, not too busy, not too fast. And look, once you've pressed in there, you can see there's loads and loads of options for you. Okay, but a lot less than there is if you don't put in a genre. Now, some of the genres might have very few in, some might have lots. I haven't looked at them all yet. So if it's only got a few, then maybe you want to pick something else, but I'm leaving that up to you. That's your decision to make. And remember from the previous video when I showed you, every time you click on one, it will play you a sample. Next one. Oh, I've recognised this. I've used this one before. It's good. Next one. Next one. Conveyor belt beat. Okay. Cosmic bell layers. Okay. Now, because I don't want to be sitting here and making this video longer than it needs to be, I'm going to pick the conveyor belt beat and I'm going to drag that into my piece. So now you'll see that it fills the whole of the 8 bars. If you're watching this video after the second video that I did, then that shows you how to make your piece longer and add sections. So if that's the case, be careful because it might pull it across the whole, all of your sections. So you might need to edit it a bit. If you've only watched the first video, then don't worry about that because it's probably good and you can watch the second video after this video. So now I've dragged it into my piece and I can press the play button at the top, which is the triangle. And now we're controlling it from within the arranger window. We can hear it. Don't forget there's a click up here. Can you see that blue triangle that's moving? That's a metronome and that's keeping it in time. But because we've got a drum beat, we don't really need that. So you just press that and you'll hear that it's gone. Okay. Now, once it's playing, if I go back to the Apple loops, then whichever other Apple loop I press, it will play along with this drum, even though I haven't put it into our project yet. So, I quite like that one. Okay, so that's the continuous run layers. I'm going to drag that in. Diamond needle. It's a diamond needle. It's like another drum beat. Let's try the double snare beat. I like that. And you don't want too many drum beats because it can sound a bit busy. But that drum beat is good with what we've got. So I've dragged that in. I like that a lot. Now, if you think that one of your parts is louder, too loud, then what you can do is you can drag, I think I'm probably in the way here, there's a little grey line halfway down on the left side, tiny little thing, and you pull it across. Okay, I'm just going to do that now, like that, and you'll see that you've got an extra bit of the screen, and on that side of the screen, you've got faders. And the fader you can pull down if you want it quieter, or pull it up. So if I want the synth sound quieter, pull it down, or I could make it louder. Okay. Now actually I think everything's pretty good. I'm going to just leave it pretty much where it was, okay? But you can use those faders to control the volume of each of your loops. And also you can mute them and solo them. I've shown you that before, I think. So the blue one with the line through mutes it. So there's no synth at the moment, there's just drums. Okay. So I'm just going to try one more loop, I think, and then I'm going to leave you to it. So let's go down the bottom. Once you've got a couple of drum beats and a synth part, you're going to have to start being careful about what you add, because too many things can sound too busy. So you want to try and find something to contrast what you hear. So what kind of a sound is going to fit over the top of that? Maybe something that's quite high pitch. There's space up there, so let's listen. See, that sounds pretty good because it fits the higher pitch area, but there's nothing there at the moment. Let's try the thing next to it. So that's the Kyoto Night guitar. Let's try the Kyoto Night synth. They're both good. There's so many things here. Anyhow, I'm going to stick with the guitar part. I'm going to drag that in. And they all fit really nicely together. And that's probably because they're all part of the same genre. So your task is to pick a genre and then try to find 3 or 4 loops that sound really good together and make an 8-bar repeated pattern of 3 or 4 loops. Okay? And when you've done that, you can move on and watch the video on how to make extra sections if you haven't already. And then that will help you to start arranging your piece of music into something longer. I'm just going to carry on and try and find some more loops. So good luck, I'll see you later.
Mr. Rush's music tutorial clips. Have you seen the clip of him?